The next basic element, that is an typecasting. So what is typecasting? Typecasting is converting from one data type to another data type is called as a typecasting. So if you convert an integer value to a float, or you convert a float value to an integer, we call it as a typecasting. Now for example, I'll take a float variable here, float x comma y. Okay. So inside this x, I'll store here 3.86. Okay. Inside x, we have stored an 3.86 value. For x, 4 bytes has been allocated. Now if I give here y is equals to x, if I give here y is equals to x, the same x value will get stored inside this y. So that means your y value is also going to be nothing but 3.86. The same value is getting stored. But I don't want the same value to be stored. This x only the integer part. The integer part is here 3. Only the 3 has to be stored rather than storing 3.86. That means 0.86 should be truncated. So in that case, this 3.86, which is of type and float, you need to typecast it to an integer. So for doing that, you can give here y is equals to, instead of giving only y equals to x, you can give y is equals to what type that x should be converted, that you have to mention within the bracket, and then give that variable name. So x, which is of type float, I'm asking it to get converted to be converted to integer. So 3.86, when it has been converted to integer, it will be 3, and when the 3 has been stored inside this y, then you'll have a inside y as a 3.0. Because y is a float, it will store the value as a 3.0. It can store it as a 3. So here we are converting what? An float value to an integer. Okay, so converting it from one data type to another data type is called as a typecasting. Similarly, if I take an integer variable, int a and b, and let's take here float c. And if I give here a value is equals to 5 and b value is equals to 2 and c is equals to a divided by b. So when I give her a divided by b, it will take it as 5 divided by 2. So usually we expect in C to have a value as in 2.5, but we won't be having a value 2.5, you'll have here a value as in 2.0. Why you are getting 2.0 here? That's because A is of type integer, B is also of type integer. So what happens is, after evaluating this operator, the result is not directly stored inside C, it will be stored inside something called as a general purpose register, that is a GPR. Because this A and B both are of type integer, so what happens is, integers occupying 2 bytes, in GPR also it will allocate only 2 bytes. Okay, so that 5 divided by 2 result is going to be 2.5. When it has been stored in 2 bytes, it will store here only 2. That 0.5 will be lost. And then the 2 when it has been stored inside the C, it will be stored in the form of 2.0. That means instead of getting a 2.5, you are getting the value as a 2.0. So to get a 2.5, either this A or this B should be of type float. Okay, so for doing that, you can give here C is equals to A divided by, you can give here float of B. So what we are doing here is, we are asking this A, which is, we are asking this B, which is of type integer, to be converted to a float type. Okay, so now that means our, in this expression, A divided by B, the first operand is going to be of type integer, which is made up of 2 bytes. Second operand, it is an integer, but we have converted to a float. So for that reason, here it is a 4 byte. So which is maximum in this case? The maximum is not 4 bytes. In GPR, instead of allocating 2 bytes, so that's a GPR is nothing but it's a memory which is present inside an microprocessor. Okay, any operations it has to be performed, the value has to be present inside this microprocessor. Okay, a microprocessor has a small amount of memory that is called as a general purpose. All the values for the local calculations within the processor, it will store the data inside this GPR. So now A divided B, so it's going to be nothing but 5.2. That 5.2 can be stored in this 4 bytes location. So 5 divided by 2 is nothing but 2.5. The 2.5 can be stored in this 4 bytes. And from this GPR, when it gets transferred to the C value will be as it is, that is 2.5. Whereas here, because in GPR it is allocated 2 bytes, the result is going to be 2.0. Why it is allocating 2 bytes? Because both the operands, that is A and B, is of 2 bytes. Whereas here A is of 2 bytes, whereas we have converted that B to an float, which is of 4 bytes. So for that reason, the maximum operand, maximum number of bytes that any operand is occupying, that means the number of bytes will be allocated inside an GPU. In this case, we are converting an integer to an float. In the previous case, we are converting an float to an integer. So converting from one type to another type is called as an type casting.